Level Live. Thanks for joining us. Really excited about the training we have today. I don't think we've heard from some of these folks in a while. Meaike Taylor, if you've not heard Meaike Taylor talk about sales, what he does with his clients. Meaike Killimett about building a business. And if y'all are familiar with Meaike Killimett, he's somebody that just literally, started like a lot of other people, 30, 40, 50, 60 grand a month with his team. And now is 2 million heading to 3 million a month in paid business. So certainly understands, and somebody who wasn't a crazy good salesperson and said I got to figure this thing out. I love people, but I've got to become more aggressive in the home. I can't just be so unbelievably nice where they just keep saying maybe, next time, it's not a good time, let me think about it. He overcame that, figured it out, so he learned to teach that, which was outstanding. And if you've not heard Tyler train, you're in for a treat. He's one of the best trainers we got, one of the greatest people we have, just an outstanding person to be around. So I'm looking forward to that. A couple of things I need to shout out real quick. If I don't shout out Zach Luffles, Mike, he's going to call you again. He does deserve it. Zach Luffles hit $1 million with us, so he's issued paid $1 million in his career with us as a personal producer. That's outstanding. American Amicable, the contract is out. Everybody's getting it. So great product, great asset for us to have. So please look into that. They're going to be doing training coming up. Mike, do you know when that's going to be?
We're pushing to get out next week.
Next week, so you'll have that. Americo still has 8%, so nobody's confused. Been doing trainings all week long. They still pay 8%. So I had an agent go, why would anybody write anything else unless it didn't fit the client? I'm like, I don't know. You make 8% more with Americo. I would just write Americo unless I need to write another product to fit my need, because the products are as good, if not better, and you get paid more. So that seems like that should work. The room block's out. The room block is from Tuesday through Saturday purely because if you want to get a room early, you can. So we just got the discounted rate. The convention's still the exact same setup as last year as far as when we're starting, when we're finishing, but we wanted to extend it one more day in case folks wanted to get into Vegas earlier for training, to be ready. They were going to do a meeting, whatever it is. Our room block just got extended one day, so it's not that the dates didn't change at all. Sales conference this week, I can't speak highly enough of the people I met, what they're doing, how awesome they are. One more time, Paige, sorry we forgot you. Hopefully we made up for some of that in Raleigh yesterday. So I'm going to turn it over to these guys. They're going to do their training. They're going to take it home. Thanks for joining us. We're going to go 3, 4, 5 minutes over today. I apologize for that in advance. It's well worth it. We have so much information to put in, so I'm going to turn it over to my buddy, Meaike Taylor.
Hello everyone, I'm Meaike Taylor out of Phoenix, Arizona. Super grateful to be on this call today and to train some of you and hopefully help some of you become better agents and leaders. I was actually talking to an agent the other day, and I said, hey, how was that Friday call, the national call? What'd you think of it? And he said, it was good, but it didn't change my life. It wasn't, I didn't just get magically better. And I was like, well, let me relate it to this. When LeBron James goes to practice and he goes to, shoot some hoops, practice his free throws, whatever, do you think it just changes his game overnight? Or Steph Curry, when he's shooting threes, practicing over and over again, do you think it just dramatically changes his life and the way he plays the game? Of course not. But what it does for him is it makes him just a little bit better. And that's what you're trying to do with these calls. They might seem mundane and repetitive, but the fact of the matter is they get you a little bit better. And that's what you're doing today, and hopefully that's the perspective that you have and that you can teach your agents. And this is why they're so important, these trainings and these calls, these sales conferences. They just get you a little bit better. And if you can get a little bit better each and every day, you're going to be able to hit a home run. You'll be able to be in the Hall of Fame, just like Zach T., a young guy who's very humble. I'm sure he's on just about every training call that he can be on. He's always trying to get better. And hopefully this call will just get you a little bit better. And I can share with you some nuggets that have really helped me. So the first thing I want to talk about is the phone script. When I started, what I would do is I would call each lead once, and my lead script on those calls were just terrible. So first things first, make sure you know how to call your leads, and that would be calling them 3 times in a row, back to back to back. The reason being for that is they'll eventually answer the call, obviously. It's a very strategic way. And call them probably 6 times a day. I like to call them 3 times in a row in the morning and 3 times in a row in the afternoon. And that's what I teach my agents as well. And then your phone script. So, for instance, if I was, let's say I had a child and I was to say, hey, how would you tell your child to go to their bedroom? Would I say, hey, little Meaike, I think, there's this room upstairs. It's really important. And, it's where you go to bed. Maybe you should go to bed tonight. And if you want to, you can go to bed and go up there. Would I ever tell my kid to do that and do it that way? Of course not. I would say, hey, Meaike, the reason why you need to go to bed right now is because it's bedtime and you need to get up early. So go up to your room really quick and get ready, get on your PJs and brush your teeth. The same thing goes with the phone script and the in-home. I've done this many a time where I'll be like, you can get this policy if you want to. Maybe I could call you in a week if you want to, maybe. I don't know. And, you'll never close that way, but we become bashful and we don't want to tell someone what to do. And we don't know how to do it in the right way. So if you do it in a very respectful way, in a kind way, but also telling them what to do, you're going to close all the time. So the phone is exactly that way. When I'm on the phone, hello, Bill. Hey, Bill, this is Meaike with the Mortgage Protection Center calling about the form you filled out and sent back to our office. This goes for final expense leads or mortgage leads. I was calling about the form you filled out and sent back to our office. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm the filled underwriter. Just wanted to verify this information. I have your date of birth is this. Yes. And your wife's date of birth is this. Yes. Okay, perfect. Look, the only reason I'm calling is they have me dispatched in your area tomorrow. I've got to get this information to about 9 families. Do you work during the day? That's a very direct question, but it's not a, hey, can you meet tomorrow? That's not very direct. And you won't book many appointments. So do you work during the day? Yes, I do. What time do you get off work? 6 o'clock. Perfect. I've got a slot open here at 6:30. Will your wife be off work then as well? Yes, she will. Perfect. I've got your address as this. And then you book the appointment. You want to be very direct. One thing that's very important, and it all goes with the in-home as well, is to not have uptones. So an uptone would be like, hey, Mary, how's it going? The reason why you don't want to do that is it sounds like you're not very confident and you're unsure of yourself. So like when you get an objection, hey, can you just send this to me in the mail? Oh, yeah, I can't do that. Like that sounds not very confident. So what I do is I always neutralize the objection, and a neutralizing word is like sure, of course, I know, and then I'll give them the reason why they should do it, and then I close it. So, of course, Bill, I can't. This is a non-medical policy, so I just have to ask you some medical questions in person. So does 6:30 work for you? Yes. They'll say yes every time because you gave them a logical reason, like telling your kid, hey, you need to go to your room. Well, I don't want to. Well, I know, but you have to because it's bedtime, and that's what we do. So that tomorrow you're not grumpy and cranky, all that good stuff. So that's what I do with the phone script. Be very direct, very upfront, and be precise. Don't dilly-dally. Don't talk to them about their whole day. Just get to the point. The same thing with the in-home. So when I go to an appointment, it's very important that I change my mindset because sometimes this business will make you very stressed out and it will make you, have anxiety. And when you bring that anxiety or stress into your next appointment, or let's say you got in a fight with your wife or husband, whatever it may be, someone cut you off in the road, make sure you leave that behind you. So I try to do a reset every time I go into the home. I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be friendly, and I'm going to smile. That will go a long ways. When you're happy, like when you listen to Matt Smith, he's funny, he's attractive. You want to listen to him because he's exciting and happy. The best salesmen and saleswomen are. And then when I go in the home, I always am very polite. I look them in the eyes, introduce myself, tell them why I'm there. Sometimes they'll forget why you're even knocking on their door, so make sure they know. And then I'll always say, hey, would you like me to take off my shoes? Something small but can go a long ways. And then I direct them. I'll be like, okay, can we sit at your kitchen table, please? And the reason being is sometimes they'll say, hey, let's go sit on my couch, and you're like 20 feet away from them. It's not very intimate. I want to make sure I'm close to them. I can look at them and read their body language, and they can read my body language as well. When I'm on the couch, it's like very relaxed. Sometimes they'll have the TV on. They kick their feet up. It's an appointment, and I want to make sure it's a professional setting. So I always go to a table and sit down with them. Then the first thing that I'll do is I'll build rapport with them. 5 minutes is all. I don't think you need to go anything more than that. If you do, I think you are wasting some time, and you kind of get off track. So I have 5 minutes. Hey, how are you? Where are you from? If I see pictures on the walls, or if they like sports, I'll get them talking about that. I'll get some relatable connections with them, and that's about it. And I can bring that up throughout the appointment. Oh, you like the Bears, or you like soccer, whatever it may be. You like dogs. And then I'll get right into it. So I'll show them the form. I'll always bring a copy, whether it's digital or a physical copy. And I'll say, do you remember filling this out, Bill and Mary? Yeah, I do. Perfect. So what I do a variety of things. I do life insurance, mortgage protection, final expense, Medicare supplement, etc. When people fill out these forms, it's normally for final expense insurance. What I do, Bill and Mary, I'm a field underwriter. I'm licensed in several states, and I help people get qualified for this coverage that they were inquiring about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a few questions just to see what we can get you qualified for, and we'll go from there. Does that make sense? Perfect. I like to do that because it sets the groundwork. They understand why I'm asking them all of these questions. It also makes me sound professional. I'm licensed with the state. That sounds very professional. A lot of people will carry their insurance license with them. I highly recommend that as well. And then I'll get right into it. So Bill and Mary, and I'll do a financial inventory sheet. How old are you? What's your mortgage amount? What's your monthly income? The monthly income is crucial. And when I write that down, you're not just collecting data, but you're gathering information so that you can use that as ammunition. So, Bill, how much do you make each month? $5,000 a month. Perfect. Mary, how much do you make? I don't make anything. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Okay. So, obviously, Mary, if Bill was to die tomorrow, financially it'd be very tough to pay for your funeral or for your mortgage. Is that correct? Okay. Tell me what would happen in that situation. And I want them to talk about that, because oftentimes they haven't. And if they start talking about that, you build a need, right? This is not a price-driven sale. This is an emotional sale, and you need to build a need. If you can do that, you'll make sales every time. The best salesmen and women build that need, and they hammer it. So I'll build that need. So what would you do? I'd probably go live with my aunt. Okay? Mary, would you want to go live with your aunt? No. Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, I could do that. And I'll always get both of them engaging. I'll ask them the same question. Bill, would you want Mary to live with her aunt or her sister? Would you want her to have a roommate? and I just get them talking about that. That's very crucial. And you don't want to talk about any product information until you get all their health information and all their other questions answered, because if you start saying, oh yeah, we can get you a $150,000 term policy that returns all your money back at the end, and they had like a stroke 2 years ago, it's not going to look good, and you're going to be backtracking, and they're not going to want anything you have to say as far as like a final expense policy. So I build that need, and you can build that need in several ways, but usually I'll do that off of their income or off of their current life insurance. And then, so after I find out their financial situation, I'll be like, perfect. So what's the mortgage amount? How many years is left? And I'll find out their medications. So, Bill, have you had any cancer or heart attack in the past 3 years? Are you taking any medications? You're doing a qualifying process right here. You want to see what they can get approved for. I would not let this hold you back from going into an appointment. If you don't know what they can get qualified for, call your manager. They know. They've done this hundreds of times. And it'll actually look better if you say, hey, I don't know what we can get you qualified for. Let me call my supervisor. That makes you look more credible. And then you get them on the phone and ask them. So I find out both their health information. And then I'll explain to them what this policy can do. And this is so crucial. So, like, look, I don't know if we can get you qualified. But if we can, potentially, what this policy would do is it would pay off the mortgage, which is obviously why I'm here. If you had cancer, heart attack, stroke, they would give you an accelerated death benefit. If nothing happens to you, Bill and Mary, they'll return all the money back to you at the end of the policy. So it's like a forced savings account. It's a win-win. And they end up loving it, right? You get all your money back at the end of an insurance policy. That's very attractive. And then let's say, for instance, they're 60 and older and they've had a heart attack in the past 10 years. The way that I'll approach that is I'll say, okay, so Bill and Mary, God forbid one of you were to pass away tomorrow, the last thing we'd want to have happen is for Mary or you, Bill, to have to go to the funeral and the next day have to go to the real estate office. The reason being, have you ever heard of the saying you shouldn't make any financial decisions within a year of your spouse dying? Yeah, okay. So what we want to do, and this is what everyone does in your situation, is they get enough coverage to buy time. So what I mean by that is your monthly mortgage payment is $1,000 a month. What we want to do, bare minimum, is to give Mary or you, Bill, at least a year's worth of mortgage payments paid for. So that way you don't have to make any financial decisions. You don't have to sell the house right away or get a roommate. You can mourn for several months and then figure out what you're going to do. That helps you buy time and making a rational decision. And it also protects you. Let's say the market was really bad. It protects you from having to sell it right away and get a terrible offer and lose this $50,000 in equity that you have in the house. That's a lot of money. So what we're doing here is we're protecting the equity. Worst case scenario, if the market's bad or you can't sell it, whatever it may be, we're just giving you time. We're buying time for you. Does that make sense? Yes. I'll make sure they both nod and say that makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't. You have to repeat yourself. Do that because it'll help them and it'll help you at the end of the presentation to close the sale. So, Bill and Mary, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some quotes. I'm going to see which policy we can get you approved for, and I'm going to show you which one, or I'm going to write down some quotes just for you to pick out. This is controversial. A lot of people don't do this, but this is what I do in my practice. And obviously myself and my brother have high persistency. What I do is I'll show them 3 options. And the reason being is I want them to choose the option. So I'll show them the full amount, about half of the amount, and quarter of the amount. And the persistency is there because they choose a policy that they feel comfortable with. Sometimes they just don't have the gut to say, no, I don't want to do this. They'll get approved, they'll get the policy, they'll cancel it 30 days later because it was just too much money. So I'm never going to talk them out of a policy, but I'm going to give them those options so that they can pick and choose what is most comfortable. But I'm very strategic on how I do that. So I'll write down 3 quotes. I'll slide the paper towards them, and I'll say, so Bill and Mary, which one of these quotes do you want to get approved for? I don't say, so which one of these is most affordable? If you want to do this, which one do you want to do? I'm very assumptive, right? So Bill and Mary, which one of these quotes do you want to try and get approved for? And then I'm quiet and I let them pick. If they say they need to think about it, right, which happens a lot, I always neutralize the objection. I'll use a feature and benefit and close it. And that's how I overcome that objection. So for instance, I show them, so which one of these do you want to get approved for? You know what, Meaike, you've been a nice guy, but we got to think about it. Of course, Bill, all we can do is think about it. We're trying to get you approved for a policy, but one thing that you're going to love and that Mary's going to love is if you die tomorrow, Bill, the mortgage is going to be paid for so that Mary isn't worried about figuring out how to stay in this house. Also, if you have cancer, heart attack, stroke, you're not going to be worried about how to make the monthly mortgage payment each month. So which one of these quotes do you want to see if we can get you approved for? So neutralizing word, I know, of course, perfect. I always validate the objection. Feature and benefit, yeah. One thing you're going to love about this policy, that's very assumptive, soft close as well. I talk to them about the policy, what's so sexy about it, and then I close them. So which one of these quotes do you want to get approved for? I like to do a head nod a lot too. Makes them say yes a lot of the time. So I'm kind of running out of time. I think I went over a little bit. I could talk about this a lot more, but the biggest thing is smiling, being assumptive. So Mary, when you get this policy, one thing you're going to love about that's a soft close. Be closing all the time. Close often. Close at least 10 times in the presentation. And if you do that and you follow the financial inventory and you continue to just get better and better each day, you're going to make a ton of money in this business. And it's going to be awesome. So thanks so much, and thanks for your
Hey guys, Mike Killimett here, Feeling First Life Southeast here in Atlanta. And first off, thank you, Shawn, for having me on, and everybody there at the corporate office. And thank you guys for everything you do for us and on a daily basis. That behind the scenes that we don't see every day, but it's I know the hard work you guys put in and the infrastructure and everything is phenomenal over the few years we've been going, and couldn't be happier to be in business with you. So thank you. Guys, I want to go over a few things, just kind of my I guess my view from 10,000 feet on how you can get better and why we kind of do things the way we do in the Feeling First Life Southeast. And basically it's pretty simple. I just duplicate what Shawn has done for me and the compensation and the bonuses and stuff. We just try to pass it on to our agents. But I want to talk a little bit about my thoughts on it. When I first started this business, I hired, first person I ever hired was my brother-in-law, which is warm market. Let me kind of explain warm market. Warm market can be someone you know, it can be a family member, it can be a friend, it can be an acquaintance, it can be someone you used to work with, it doesn't have to be like your best friend, doesn't mean just warm market. It can be someone, for example, the other day, this last week, I'm traveling, hired our waiter. So that's considered warm market. It's not, I didn't know the guy, but he was there. It's not an ad. It's not cold market, be definitely an ad, ZipRecruiter, something like that. So I want to talk about, because what I'm super proud of with our guys and our agency is how well we've hired warm market and just sharing what we do with everybody we come in contact with, because I think that's very important. And I think sometimes you don't share what you do is because you're either not proud of it, or you're scared they, a friend or someone might be better than you. And I'll just say this: I think that's very selfish. I think if you don't share this opportunity you have on your hands right now, you could hurt a family member, you could hurt a friend, you could hurt some, because the money. This is the best industry, I think, the best way to make money. Period, hands down. And at Family First Life, we're the best in our space in the entire country. So why shouldn't they work with us? I just got a text from one of our guys saying, "Hey, my neighbor works here." And I'm like, seriously, man, if you would, he's been with me for a minute. If it's just share, like, for example, when I got my license in 2010, I sent an email out to everybody in my contact list. People I didn't even know. There's people that I've sent emails. You know how it comes up. Just everybody. Hey guys, I'm changing industries. Here's what I'm doing now. If you need life insurance, please reach out to me. If you want to make some extra money, please reach out to me. I've always been that way. I've always shared what we do with everybody I come in contact with, and continue. Just this week alone, I hired 3 guys, 2 that were helping me do some stuff around the house, and a waiter that when I was traveling. And it's just simply because of the way we were talking I was talking with our staff the other day. It's like when you start making more money, guys, you can't hide the success. So as you continue in this business and continue to do well and make money with us, people are going to see that, because you're going to make different choices. You're going to do things different. But to start with, before you start making money with, before you get going, I challenge you to please share this opportunity and what you're doing with everybody you know, and then just get them in contact with your manager or someone else, just because they have a different belief level. I mean, I understand you're just getting started if you're brand new and you don't know if it's going to work for you, or you don't know. If I would have waited, guys, to figure out how to sell insurance before I hire anybody, we would be 2 years behind, because I didn't figure it out for like a year and a half, almost 2 years, how to really sell insurance and how to get a good schedule and how to work in this industry. I didn't understand it. I understood how to work, but I didn't understand how to work in this industry. So, but I didn't wait. So therefore, we're not 2 years behind, and we're definitely still hiring and still growing. So please, I challenge you, just let people know around you what you do. You never know who you're going to bump into. You never know who has their license. You never know, what they might be tired of sitting at a queue. I just hired one of my buddies. He's been an attorney for 15 years. He calls me up. Now I've been trying to hire him. I've been in the business for 9. I've been trying to hire him all 9 years, because I know when he got out of college, he did insurance. He did this, but then he went and got his law degree, and he's practiced law for the last 15 years. But guess what? He calls me up. He's like, "I'm done." He goes, I can't go to the office anymore. I'm tired. I want to do, and he's going to be a great asset to the team. But if I wouldn't have shared it 9 years, he would have never called me. Gary Pegues is one of my best managers. We grew up together. I tried to hire him and his wife 7 years ago. Timing wasn't right. Things got stuff happened in his life. Now he's one of my VPs, one of our vice presidents. So it's just, please share. You don't know who you're going to miss. Okay, if you don't share it. Next thing I want to talk about is making some changes. You have to make changes. If you don't change what you're doing now, you're going to continue to get the same result that you've always got in life. So and one of the biggest changes for me is Shawn yelled at me. He's like, "You gotta sell insurance on the weekend. You gotta sell insurance on the weekend." And I'm hard-headed. Now I'm a listener. I listen. I will change, but I might not do it tomorrow. But we did change, and I think and I credit and thank John Whitmore a lot for this. Actually, is we started having a dial. We do a dial day in Atlanta on Monday, and then we started a dial day on Thursday. So and now I was on the phone with Shawn earlier today, and over the last weekend, our guy sold over $300,000 of life insurance just on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And if we wouldn't have started, if we wouldn't have been open-minded and willing to change and talk about working Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because Saturday is the best day to sell insurance, guys. Hands down. They're home. People are home. They're happy. It's just they're in a better mood. They're not coming home from work. Now, I'm not saying Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are bad days. I'm just saying I don't think there's a bad day to sell insurance. But I tell you, we made that change, and it's helped our business out tremendously. And we also changed. Sometimes you have to change who you hang out with, who you associate with, and stuff like that. And you got to be willing. You got to be willing to try different things and change what kind of your thought process and what you're doing there. And because the way you think and the choices you've made in life have got us to where we are today. And whether you're older, whether you're younger, I just challenge you on this is don't worry about what happened before. Don't worry about, all you can control is from today moving forward. So, we're Friday around lunchtime here. It's like, all you can control is what goes on this afternoon and what goes on the rest of the day moving forward. We've all made bad choices. We've all made good choices. So, but you can't control, you can't take back the bad ones. So let's quit worrying about it. I think the biggest problem with a lot of our agents is they tend to worry about missing 7 sales and they sold the 3. Well, they made $3,000. Why are we worried about the other 7? So it's just like, I challenge you to make some changes. Listen to your managers, listen to all the great sales training we have, and let's move forward from today on. What can we change? What can you do different than you did yesterday? But not worry about what you did yesterday. Now that leads me to my next thing is our leads. When I'm not going to give you the uphill in the snow barefooted, but I'm just telling you, with the Facebook leads and the EverQuote leads now, better than ever, and they're getting better every day. The guys we buy the Facebook leads from, some of the different guys, it's always that they're trying to change them. They're trying to get, and they've got better just in the last 3 months. Just simple things that they add different on the ads and stuff. But I'm telling you, I love the question of, hey, is Atlanta saturated? Well, and we're in Atlanta, Georgia. We'll have every Monday and Thursday we have a sales meeting. There's 30 or 40 agents in my office here in Atlanta getting trained, and I never worry about it because it's like, do we have enough leads? The answer is we have plenty of leads. It doesn't matter where you are in the country. Don't worry about it being saturated. With the Facebook and EverQuote, there's millions and millions and millions of people that want insurance and need insurance, and not only the direct mail that we have going out every day with mortgage and final expense, those are phenomenal as well. But I never worried about it being saturated in it. And I always got that question from my up and coming managers. Hey, do you think there's a lot of people here in the office? I go, yeah, I'm not going to worry about it until we all of a sudden we don't. It's like, if it was a point to where we didn't have leads, but I mean, just in the Feeling First Life Southeast, there's let me see your board here. February, 2.7 million issue paid in February. So I always like to tell people when I'm hiring them, I have 2.7 million reasons why this works. Whether the leads are good or whether the training's good. We have, and you can use it on a larger scale on what we issue. It's just, we have 100 million reasons why this worked last year, for Family First Life. It's a phenomenal system that's been put in place. And don't worry about that. Guys, I don't know when I first started, I couldn't get a new lead in 2 days. You can put your Facebook order in and it's full. From what I understand, it's pretty full in the next 24, 48 hours. Whether you get 20, 30, whatever the case may be, they get to you pretty fast. And they're new. For me to get a new lead 5 years ago, it was 3 to 4 weeks. Because we didn't have Facebook. We had to drop mail, and it takes 3 to 4 weeks before it comes back. And man, if you're getting started with us, you can't wait 3 or 4 weeks to get paid. Now we can get you paid. You can get some leads in your hands right away. Just thank you, Shawn, and thank you everything on that part of it. But don't worry about anything being saturated. The whole United States is your playground. You can sell and work anywhere. We have offices all over the country. So. And that leads me kind of to the next thing. Just the gratitude I have for Family First Life and what Shawn has done for me and my family when it comes to to bonuses, and not only at the overrides are great. I mean, I make overrides every day, and when I always understand this, the biggest override you're going to have is on yourself. So when you go sell insurance, that's whatever contract you're at, 80, 90, whatever contract you're at, you'll never have that big of an override. So number one, you need to sell some insurance. But on the hiring side and building an agency and building a different way of life, I mean, the bonuses, man, we got guys all over the country. I don't know exactly what, but I've heard them. This is one thing, Shawn. This is something I'm not comfortable talking about, but I'll talk about it. My bonus is, because I couldn't be more grateful, and it's always from 60, and this is monthly for our managers. I mean, my bonus is somewhere between $65,000 and $75,000 every month, and it's going to continue to go up as we do different things and as we grow. But I mean, it's not just me, guys, all over the country. I mean, Andrew's is around 30,000, Drew's 20 to 30,000, John W's 20,000, Mark 20 to 30,000, Brent's 20,000. I can go on, and I'm talking about $20,000 monthly. That's not once a year. Shawn goes, hey, good job, guys, here's 20 grand. No, that's every month that the corporate office sends those checks out. And I can remember my first one was like $1,900, and I was like, this is awesome. Because you understand, guys, bonuses aren't charge backable. Like when I get the 69,000, whatever I get, there's not like, we had a bunch of chargebacks, I'm only going to send you 30,000 this month. No, it's not. So some of the time, guys, when you're building your agencies, you need to understand, I call it buying volume, is with the high compensation for my agents. I like to give them a high compensation because I want them to be around forever. I don't want them to go anywhere else. I don't want them to shop. I don't want them to look around. That's why we don't have contracts. I want you to be happy. I want you to make money, because the more money they make, the more money we make as managers. And that's how it works. The more people you help, the more money you make. So thank you for that. But understand that, guys, is help people. And sorry for the train, but I'm almost done. Americo, 8%. I don't know why you would sell anything else. If you're at a 100 contract, you're gonna make 108% if you sell Americo. There's no reason, especially with the instant decisions now. Go and do it on your iPad or computer, whatever you got. They're gonna tell you yes or no. They tell you yes, we're golden. Why? I love. They've been our business partners since day one, and they're the most innovative, and they listen to us on what we ask, and 8% is phenomenal for our agents. I love watching our agents get the checks in the summertime and then right before Christmas. It's phenomenal that they do that for us, and thank you, Shawn, for going to bat and asking for that. And I'm gonna leave you guys with this, man. Don't get left behind, man. This train is moving. It's moving fast, and if you don't go to work, you're gonna get left. And I don't want you to get left. I don't want anybody to get left behind. But at the end of the day, the ones that work the hardest, do the most for the most people, get paid the most money. And you couldn't be in a better place to do it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks, Shawn.
Hey guys, this is Tyler coming at you from Family First in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Good to be here. First of all, just want to say thank you to everyone at Family First for having me do a little bit of training today. I'm happy to share some of the things that have made me successful over the past few years. Today I'm just going to be going over a few of the things that have made me successful in my business. So I apologize if anything seems a little bit scatterbrained, or if there's no particular flow to this video. However, I just want to highlight some of the things that I think that I've learned over the past few years that are going to help you guys out. All right, so number one, aside from having really good hair and a sparkly personality, the biggest thing that has helped me find success at Family First is the financial inventory sheet. Don't know if you can see that well on the camera, but This sheet, which you can find from your manager or you can email me and ask me for it, you can find it anywhere, is going to really help you in your client meetings. It gives you credibility. It's also going to guide your in-home presentation. So I love the financial inventory sheet. I use it every single time. I might customize it a little bit, or the way that I go through it depending on the client situation. However, it is a great guide and I always use it. You can't really see, but this is actually a used financial inventory sheet. And this sheet is, I just wanted to show you because one of the things that I do that helps me keep track of my clients is I have my financial inventory sheet, and then on the back of it, I print the lead. I apologize because you can't really see anything, but that's how I run my business every day. Is I have all my lead sheets with the financial inventory printed on the other side, and I run my appointments, and then that way when I come across the opportunity for an annuity, or let's say I didn't close them but I end up going back, I can hold on to that sheet and know exactly where I left off with that client. This particular lead sheet, I just want to point out that I set it in my folder to go back to, and I sold this family an annuity yesterday. I wasn't able to sell them mortgage protection, but I was able to go back and sell them an annuity, and it actually really helped them. They had an annuity that was giving them 2%. So, they're going to easily earn 7 to 9% with the Performance Elite series from Athene, and really, really get a lot more out of their hard-earned money than had they just left it alone. In regard to the financial inventory sheet, I'm actually not going to go through it with you. The reason why I'm not going to go through it with you is because there's a lot of resources where you can already hear another agent go through it. I highly recommend you listening to Linda Lampasso go through her financial inventory. I do it exactly the same. And the reason why I do it exactly the same is because when I came into this business, I met Linda at one of the conventions, because I came to a convention like right after being brand new. One, I thought she was awesome, but two, I saw how successful she was. And I wasn't having that same success in the home. But I'm catching up to her fast because I'm copying her every move. So, for those of you who, want to establish your own way of doing things, or, or if you're struggling, my advice is copy someone who's having a lot of success. That's exactly what I did. And, I'm catching up to Linda. I'm having a great year so far. And, just by following what she does, it's really helped me find success. But also, once you figure it out, you can kind of tailor it and have your own personality and do it your own way. But you definitely have to start having success before you can just start doing things your own way. Every single part of the financial inventory sheet is important. But my favorite part is asking the client, what else is it that you have that would act as life insurance if something, God forbid, were to happen to you? We're looking for 401ks, IRAs, investment accounts, basically anything of value that this client could use if something happened and either spouse were to pass away. So I love asking this question because this is where you find the annuity money. Now, what I want to go over with you guys today is one of the things that has really helped me finding that money or asking that question to setting up an annuity appointment and closing that annuity. If you can talk about the annuity and go right into the annuity appointment, and if you've established that type of trust with your client right then and there, move forward and sell the annuity in one appointment. I know that Linda Lampasso has been doing that. I, however, have only done that a couple times. I do try to do that, but when you're dealing with somebody's fortune, for me at least, it's been a little bit harder to establish that type of trust right off the bat. However, I have been able to set appointments and get those annuities later on. And I'm gonna show you one of the things that I do all the time in my appointments to really help me meet with that client again, but also take that finding the money to the sale and closing that annuity. In order to do this, I'm gonna have to teach you guys Finance 101 for insurance professionals. Not everybody's like me, and not everybody was a total nerd and studied finance in college, but that was my forte. I had an older sister that was a finance queen. She absolutely dominated. She graduated top of her class, went on to working for Ford Credit, the only division of Ford that made money for a long, long time. Had an awesome career, and now she's actually working on a startup, and I followed her footsteps in studying finance. And I've been able to use this, even though I landed my dream job in finance right out of college. I hated it, and I ended up with Family First. And I can't tell you how much more I love this job as opposed to my finance job. But I just want to go over this information that I constantly am using in my appointments to help you guys sell annuities. And you're going to see at the end of this exactly why I'm teaching you guys all of these things. So the first part of this Finance 101 for insurance professionals is, what is a stock? A lot of you know the answer to this question, but I just want to go over it with you guys just so that you all know what a stock is. A stock is simply a share of a company. So for example, if I were to start a business in my garage, and if it was to be very, very successful, I might get to the point where I want to sell off some of my company. And so what we would do is we would make shares and we would sell it, and each share of that company would essentially be a stock. I'm simplifying this to the max, but a stock is essentially a share of a company. Now, a stock can generate income in basically two different ways. One, it can appreciate in value as that company becomes more and more valuable. Say, for example, Amazon. Amazon started as just a little tiny company. Maybe I shouldn't say a little tiny company, but it started out as a much smaller company than what it is today. And as it got bigger and more successful, and their profit margins got bigger and bigger and bigger, those stocks or those shares of that company, the ownership in that company, became more and more valuable. Now, the second way that a stock can generate income is through what they call a dividend. Now, when a company experiences really great profits, what they'll do is they'll issue what's called a dividend to all of their shareholders. Now, this is just a portion of those profits that's shared among all of the shareholders. However, when we think of like the value of a stock and how stocks can make money, usually we're thinking more of the market value of that stock, what that stock can be bought or sold for. And so a stock, in review, is an equity. You're owning a small piece of a company. It can generate income in two ways. The market value of the stock can go up as that company becomes more valuable. It can also go back, it can also go down as that company, as things change in the market. And they can also issue what's called a dividend, which is sharing of those company profits. The next thing that I want you guys to know is, what is a bond? All right, so a bond is not an equity. A bond is a liability. So for example, the most famous bonds in the world are bonds issued by the United States. They're government bonds. So when the United States needs to borrow some money, what they'll do is they'll issue a bond. Anybody can buy them, and they'll pay a certain interest rate for the government borrowing that money. Now, a bond is kind of like the opposite of a stock, but they're very, very similar. All you need to know is there are also two ways to earn money from a bond. One, it pays, instead of paying a dividend, it pays interest. So you can earn money from a bond by just collecting that interest. But two, as the market fluctuates, that the value of that actual bond can appreciate or depreciate. So as interest rates go up, the value of bonds goes down typically, because you have your interest rate locked in on a bond, and that'll make the the value of the bond go down. But as interest rates go down, the value of a bond can go up. Now, this is the market value, what you can buy and sell the bond for. But also, like a stock, it generates income another way, and that's through the interest rate. Now, you might be sitting there wondering, like, why am I talking about stocks and bonds? I'm talking about these things because I think they're important to understand so that you guys can establish yourselves as an expert when you go into your client meetings. Now, you don't need to know a lot about stocks and bonds and finance in order to sell annuities, but this basic knowledge that I'm giving you right now is really going to set you apart as an expert in your field when you meet with that client, and they're going to trust you with that $1 million that they have in their 401k. If you go in there and you're completely clueless and you don't know anything and you're just like, hey, I think this annuity is a great idea, sign here, they're not going to do it because they've spent their entire life earning that money. But if you can establish yourself as an expert and really, show these people that you do care about them and you have, the expertise in helping their money grow and to protect it, they're going to move forward with that annuity appointment and hopefully all the way to the close of that annuity. Now, the reason why I'm teaching you guys about stocks and bonds is because, generally speaking, when you meet with these people and you're helping them with a rollover, which is going to be the source of the majority of your annuities, it has been for me, these people are going to have their money, 90% of the time, their money is going to be invested into what we call a mutual fund. Now, why did I teach you about stocks and bonds? The reason why I taught you about stocks and bonds is because mutual funds, for the most part, are made up of stocks and bonds. All right, so I brought the camera a little bit closer because I'm going to teach you guys what is a mutual fund. All right, so here I have my little piece of paper. I don't have a whiteboard in my beautiful house because that would be tacky, but I can show you on paper what a mutual fund is. So what a mutual fund is, it looks like this, like a big pizza pie, all right? And the first most important part of that pizza pie, actually they're all important parts, so ignore that, but about 20 to 25%, a fourth of that pizza, of that mutual fund, is reserved in cash, okay? So this part of the pizza is going to be cash, okay? The rest of the pizza is going to be made up of not pepperonis, but all of these little circles that look like pepperonis are stocks and bonds. Yes, sometimes a mutual fund will invest in other things like silver or gold or commodities or something else, but 99% of the time it's going to be stocks and bonds, okay? And then in charge of the mutual fund, you have a fund manager. This person, he or she, I worked for a female fund manager and she was a total badass. I always aspired to be like her. But this fund manager has a million little minions, probably about, 25, 30 Ivy League graduates working for her or him, okay? And what these minions do, I used to be one of them, they study the market all day long, and then they report back to the fund manager, okay? And then the fund manager and their minions will determine, you know what? These investments right here, these stocks, most likely, these look like they're gonna do really well. So let's buy more of those. Let's use this cash. By the way, this cash is not earning any interest. Let's use this cash to buy more of this, okay? The thing about the cash is they have to have it because they always have to have liquidity in that fund to constantly be buying and selling. The minions will also report back to the fund manager and say, you know what, Kathleen, these options right here, these ones are not doing well, and I think they're even gonna go down in value. Let's sell these, okay? So the fund manager and all of her minions are constantly deciding which investments they should buy and which ones they should sell. Now, you're probably thinking, this is such a great idea. If I was to buy a fund like this, I'm gonna make so much money. And you're right, you can certainly make money in a mutual fund. However, the problem with a mutual fund is that all of these people, all Kathleen and all of her Ivy League graduate minions, they all have to be paid, and guess what? They get paid a lot. So after they're all paid, that comes out of this fund, and that's called the expense ratio. Okay? So when that money comes out of the fund, your client doesn't even know that they're paying it. This is covering the expense, the expense ratio comes out of the investment, and the client never sees it. Instead of getting, 14% return, they're gonna get a 5 or a 6% return because all of these people have to be paid. And then on top of that, the advisor that sells the mutual fund, if there is an advisor involved, gets what's called a 12B-1 fee. This is a commission that comes out of that fund and gets paid to the advisor every single year. So that is what a mutual fund looks like. And the reason why I'm teaching you this is because this is what all of your clients, not all of them, but what most of your clients are going to have their money invested in. And you need to be able to sit down with them and say, hey, Mark, tell me a little bit about your retirement account. What are you invested in? Guess what? Mark's gonna say, I don't know. And you're gonna say, well, why don't you give me that statement? Mark brings you the statement, you pull it out, and it looks like a mutual fund. And you say, oh my gosh, it looks like you're invested in mutual funds, Mark. Are you familiar with what a mutual fund is? And he's gonna say, of course I am. Everybody knows what a mutual fund is. Well, he really doesn't know what a mutual fund is, but you are gonna say, you know what? I know you know, Mark, what a mutual fund is, but I just want to review it real quickly just so that we're on the same page, because some of the things that I wanna tell you might be rusty in your memory, as I'm sure you already know all about it, but let's just go over this. And this is what a mutual fund looks like. All right, so after you've gone over with your client what a mutual fund is, this is after you find the money and you pull out the statement and you ask the client if, they know what they're invested in, and you've kind of gone over that illustration a little bit. I want to teach you guys what an index fund is, okay? This is an index fund. It also looks like a pizza. And inside the index fund, you also have stocks. I'm going to use for my training the most famous index fund of all time, which is the S&P 500. All right, so the S&P 500 is an index fund made up out of stocks from all of the world's most successful companies. We have Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Delta Airlines, Volkswagen. I could go on forever. All of these huge major companies are part of the S&P 500. The top 500 blue chip companies, the top companies in the world, are in here. And the only way that the S&P 500 changes is when companies become part of that league, become one of the top 500 companies in the world, or if one of the companies that's in the S&P 500 fails, which rarely happens, but does happen, they'll obviously go off that list. Or if they become less valuable, let's say, for example, let's pretend that deluxe checks used to be part of the S&P 500. I don't think it was ever that big, but guess what? People don't use checks anymore. So it would no longer be on the S&P 500 if it once was on the S&P 500. But the beauty of this is the S&P 500 does not have a fund manager, and it doesn't have a million minions working for it. It mimics the market. So you get a tiny piece of all these really successful companies, and you don't have to sacrifice that expense in paying all of those experts to manage that fund. So I'm going to tell you guys something that's going to absolutely blow your mind. 97% of the time, 97% of the time, the index wins, all right? And what that means that mutual funds don't work, basically. And so if you tell your client 97% of the time, index funds beat mutual funds, they're gonna say, oh my God, I wanna be in index funds. And guess what? Our annuities allow your client to invest into the index. All right, so that brings me to my next point. When you're selling an annuity, your client will most likely choose an index strategies. That's why they're called fixed indexed annuities, all right? Because they invest into the index, or FIAs as we're calling them. And so what you can tell your client is you can tell your client, listen, I have something that is so incredible. Not only does it allow you to invest into the index, but it gives you an added layer of protection so that if the market were to crash like it did back in 2008, remember when you lost all that money in your 401k? Yeah, like back then. If it goes down, it's going to secure your account. And so the way that this works is the annuity company allows you to invest into the index, and you have what's called a participation rate. Your participation rate is usually going to vary anywhere from 75 to 100 to 90%. And what that participation rate means is it means when the market does well, when the market goes up, you take home 75 to 90% of that, of those earnings. But when the market goes down, in exchange for that spread that you're giving to the insurance company, the insurance company provides you with a guarantee that you can't lose money. So if the market goes down, you lose nothing. If the market goes up, you earn 75 to 90% of whatever that market performance was. All right, guys, so I just want to recap with you what we went over and why we went over it. So 1, use the financial inventory sheet. 2, my favorite part of the financial inventory sheet is when we ask about what else is it that the client has that's going to act like life insurance. 3, the client is probably going to tell you that they have a 401k. Okay? 4, when it gets to that point, or if that client provides you with that statement, you're going to say, oh my gosh, it looks like you're invested into mutual funds. Are you, like, how familiar are we with mutual funds? Guess what? Nobody knows what a mutual fund is. Most people don't. But you're going to say, hey, like, let me show you, what I've learned about mutual funds. And, this is what they look like, okay? And they're a really great idea. It's genius. And at one point, they were probably the best investment you could get into. But now we have other options. And you also explain, they're a great idea, but because of this cash that doesn't earn any interest, and because of all these really smart people that need to get paid, 97% of the time, an index fund is better. And then you tell your client, I have an indexed option that not only does it give you the opportunity to invest in an index fund, but it gives you protection against a down market. And so I guess in recap, all I want to say is that, there are 2 things that are really great about the annuities that we sell. 1, they invest into index funds, which are more effective and work better than mutual funds, which is what most of your clients have. 2, they provide your clients against a down market or against any loss. Now, I didn't go over this one other part, and that's the main point of annuities, and that's to offer your client protection. We are there to preserve their retirement and to keep it from going down. Many of these people are at the end of their horizon. They're in their 50s, 60s. They're getting ready for retirement. They don't have 30 years for the market to bounce back up if it were to crash. And so when you ask your client, how much of this can you afford to lose after you've discovered their 401k or their investments or whatever it might be, and they tell you, I can't afford to lose any of it, you're going to say, you know what? You're right. You can't afford to lose any of it. Here's this other option that I have, and it is so much better because you have mutual funds. 1, 2, this is in index funds, which we just went over. It's so much better. But on top of that, you're protected against any loss. So if something crazy happens in the world and it causes the market to crash, a mortgage crisis or a war or whatever it might be, there's terrible news on all the time, you're going to be able to show your client a much better option that invests in the index, and it also protects their money. And this whole time when you explain to them about the 2 pizza pies, as elementary as that might be, you really showed off as an expert. And they're thinking, gosh, I wish my financial advisor would take the time to explain these things to me, because he's never done that before. And I can't tell you how many clients I have that have thanked me for taking the time to teach them just a little bit about what they had and another option that they also have to go with. So that spiel that I just gave you, a little bit about, what a mutual fund is, what a stock is, what the S&P 500 was, what an index fund is, has helped me take the client from, hey, here's your 401k, which is just 100% mutual funds, and here's something else that you might want to think about. And it also helps me take it all the way through to close. So I wish you guys the best of luck. This was, not the longest training in the world. That's all I have time for. But I hope that it helps you in your client meetings. And thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.